Hi, hello, I'm Sam Harrison. I read, review and discuss fantasy and science fiction books. Today we'll be discussing my February TBR. I have 6 books for you on the TBR this month. There is going to be a 7th book arriving at my house at some point from the Page and Wick book subscription box. If I have time to read that this month, I will. But let's go into what I'm going to read and why I'm going to read it and a few thoughts about it. Now, I think that this book is one that kind of needs no introduction. I feel like it's been all over booktube. Multiple people have said that they absolutely love it. And also my friends Ross and Laura said they didn't like it. So that book is Empire of the Vampire by J. Christoph. So I really like urban fantasy stories. I really like vampire stories. I'm hoping, even though I know almost nothing about this book, I'm kind of hoping for something like Blade. So I love the Blade movies. This is a real long book, by the way. There are lots of illustrations though, which is pretty cool. Especially not many authors will put any illustrations in their paperback, let alone multiple. But I'm really excited to read this one, mostly because I haven't read an urban fantasy in quite a while now. And mostly I am just looking forward to seeing what all the fuss is about, really. It's a very long book. It's 700 pages and the font is incredibly small. So we'll see how long this takes me to read. We'll see if I finish it, if I DNF it. Based on what people have said about this book, I do think I will like it. There are a few things that people have said that they didn't like, which I have found in other book series that I can kind of gloss over. So whilst it's not 100% guaranteed that I'm going to love this book, I am really looking forward to it. And I just kind of want to know, you know? And if I like Empire of the Vampire, then I will read the sequel, book 2, in March, Empire of the Damned. Speaking of Empire of the books, so the Empire of the Wolf is a fantasy kind of gothic horror-y fantasy by Richard Swan. Now, I'm going to be reading the 3rd book in that series next month. So the 3rd and final book comes out right at the beginning of February. I don't think I will be reading it at the beginning of the month. However, I am going to be reading it next month. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm about a third of the way through Tyranny of Faith, purely via audiobook, as I've been listening to the audiobook while I drive places and do the washing up and things like that. And actually, I've had quite a lot of drive time in the last week or so for work. So that's why I've ended up unintentionally listening to quite a lot of the next book on my TBR, which is The Tyranny of Faith. But for February, I'll be reading Trials of Empire. I actually got an advanced reader's copy, a review copy for that one. So I could start it immediately after finishing Tyranny of Faith. But I think in order to keep my enjoyment for the genre of fantasy fresh, I am going to be splitting, just as I have done in January, my fantasy from my sci-fi and urban fantasy. So I'll go fantasy, then I'll go sci-fi or urban, then I'll go fantasy, and you see how I mean. Speaking of, let's talk about the fantasy sci-fi book that I'm going to be reading next month. Let's go to Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. So this is the 2nd book in the Red Rising series, and this is the book that everyone says is the best Red Rising book. This is also the book that I DNF'd back in 2017 when I first read Red Rising, because I just kind of felt like this wasn't really what I wanted from a sequel from Red Rising. However, many years later, and many books later, we're talking, over 80 odd other books I've read, I feel like I can go into this with a little fresher and with less expectations, and more of an open mind. And I'm really excited to see what I see of this when I try it for a second time. Because when I read Red Rising for the second time, I actually enjoyed it more. And while I don't think it'd be possible to enjoy it much less than I did last time, because I literally stopped reading it because I felt bored, I am going to give Golden Sun a try next time, and I'm really excited to read it next month. Next up, let's go for another sci-fi book. So, as you all know, I have been reading the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio, and I have book 2 here, Howling Dark. Now, Ross from Hardy's Books has been reading this, and he's been updating us in the Fool's Tale in Andrew Watson's Discord about how different this is, how much he's loving it, and I'm genuinely really excited to get to this one as well. So, the first book was kind of not what I expected, really. It was a much more personal, and I felt like much more small-scale story, whereas I was thinking of something that would rival... people have compared it to Dune, but Dune is a lot bigger in scale, is a lot more epic, and that just wasn't what I got from Empire of Silence. So I am hoping that Howling Dark takes us in a different direction. However, I really, really loved The Lesser Devil, which I read via audiobook. I read that last week. And you'll see there's a review on the channel already for it. There's also a review on the channel for Empire of Silence, by the way, and Red Rising, and the first book in the Empire of the Wolf, The Justice of Kings. So all of these books... I think next month I'm only reading sequels apart from Empire of the Vampire. So all of those sequels, the first book in the series, there is a review on the channel. Now, Howling Dark, I'm expecting something different. I have been told that shit kind of hits the fan pretty much straight away, and I am excited about that. I've not read the back of the book. I kind of don't want to know anything else about this. The one thing I will say as well is, look at this. It's a big floppy American paperback. Look at that. It's not as floppy as I like when it comes to the American paperbacks. It's still got a bit of body to it. But this is my preferred size of book to read. I much prefer something like that to something like the smaller Golden Sun. So, much more excited to read this one. I'm really looking forward to reading this through. Maybe I'll see if I can have a spoiler discussion with Ross. We'll find out. I want to do spoiler discussions for every book I read, ideally. But a lot of it is going to depend on finding people who are reading stuff around the same time as me, because I don't want to pull someone in when they've read the book like a year ago and then be struggling to remember what happened in the book, So, Howling Dark, really looking forward to that one. We have 2 more books left on the list. If you are paying attention, you'll know that I need 1 more fantasy and 1 more sci-fi or urban book. Now, the final fantasy book, not Final Fantasy, the final fantasy book is The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, which you guys should have expected, really. Don't know why that's any sort of surprise. This is book 2 in the Wheel of Time. I have the first 3 books in this lovely new edition. I think this cover in particular is really lovely, like the greens and the photo of the trees. Really, really nice to look at. I was really surprised by The Eye of the World. I thought that it was going to be stuffy. I thought it was going to feel... the pace was going to feel wrong and slow. I thought that it was going to be, flowery purple prose. And I didn't get any of the things that I was expecting. But what I did get was a really fantastic first book that established a brilliant world that I really enjoyed. It established a really interesting magic system, a soft magic system, although I am led to believe it is actually a hard magic system, and we'll find that out in later books. I'm just really excited about this one. I don't know if I'm going to be reading this as the first book of the month, because I'm going to be finishing this month on a fantasy book, Tyranny of Faith. So I might want to start next month with a sci-fi book, so that I'm alternating. Or maybe I'll start with Empire of the Vampire. Who knows? But Wheel of Time, The Great Hunt. Yeah, I remember the title. The Great Hunt is going to be one of my highlight books of next month. Let's rewind that a little bit. All of these books I'm really excited to read. There's not one single book that I'm even like remotely trepidatious about. 2023 was a really fantastic year of reading for me, and from when I started my booktube channel in August, everything has kind of ramped up and up and up. I've been reading so much stuff that I really enjoy, and the other thing is that I really love talking to you guys about these books, and I know people love to talk about The Wheel of Time. So not only am I really looking forward to reading this one, I'm also really looking forward to having the spoiler discussion with Matt at Bask in the Story, and also, I'm really excited to discuss it with you guys in the audience. So if you are a big Wheel of Time fan, I will be reading this next month, and I'm super excited to see where it goes. To Ramble, Richard on there, who is a big Wheel of Time fan, said that The Great Hunt is like 3 to 4 times better than Eye of the World. So I loved Eye of the World, and I gave that 4 stars. So this could be a real killer. Next up, I'm getting the Kindle out for this one because I don't have a physical copy yet, although I am planning on buying one. It is Blood Reunion by JCM Byrne. So I am currently reading book 2, The Return of the Griffin, which I think I've used this phrase a few times really, but was not what I expected at all. I have read a little more than this on the digital version, but I'm probably going to finish it, well, yesterday. When you're seeing this posted, I will probably have finished it yesterday. But I'm really excited about reading the next book in the series. This book kind of takes Rohan out of his environment from book 1, and we get to meet kind of a whole new cast of characters, and we get to kind of see a little bit more about his backstory, about his home life, and about how things have changed in the years that he's been gone. And I'm really enjoying this book. I've already, I think, worked out the cool twist, but I haven't got to it yet. So I guess we'll find out. The second I finish recording this, I am going to be plugging the phone in to upload all the video files to my laptop, and then I'm going to be reading this bad boy. So I don't know why I'm holding up that book. That's a January TBR book. So Blood Reunion, which is the next book in the series, I will be trying to get a physical copy. It's mostly whether I actually get around to buying it or not, because I am lazy and cheap. But I have got the digital edition, which I got on Kindle Unlimited. I would really recommend this series, and as I've said before, all the books are on Kindle Unlimited, so if you want to read them, they're all there for you. So you can buy 1 month of Kindle Unlimited for like £9 and then read the entire quadrilogy. I bet you could read it in a couple of weeks if you're a normally paced reader. I'm quite a fast reader in many ways, and I can read half of one of these books in a day if I'm like not doing much else, like an evening. Anyway, I have no idea what this book is about, and I don't want to read anything about it in case I spoil the end of Return of the Griffin for myself. So I'll just tell you about the series overall. So Rohan is a superhero. He was a superhero on Earth who got his powers by his father being an alien, and the alien DNA interacted with his human DNA and gave him the ability to access something called power with a capital P, and he can harness that power, and he can ebb and flow, like increase it up and down, and use that to get stronger, faster. You can use it to fly. So there's lots of different ways that you can use the power. I really, really loved the first book in this series, even though it was a 4-star, and it actually ended up being above many of the 5-star books on my top 10, because I simply just really couldn't stop thinking about it. So it came up in my head all the time when I was thinking about wanting to read. And I had been trying to read Return of the Griffin, trying to fit it into a TBR, until I added it to my Christmas wish list and somebody bought it for me in December. So I had to wait for Christmas to read it. And now I've read that one. I'm going to have read this one today, I expect. I'll be straight on to Blood Reunion next month. I really, really liked Wistful Ascending, and I'm loving Return of the Griffin so far. And I would really recommend this series. So if you are a fan of sci-fi superhero stuff like Invincible, then I would really recommend you go out and pick this series up, because it is the closest I've got to that sort of storytelling and that quality of storytelling in the in the novel space. Because superhero novels are often rubbish, but this one definitely isn't. And the sci-fi twist on it is a really, really interesting, like, little bit of extra flavour, bit of extra spice, as they say. So those are my 6 books for next month. So we have Empire of the Vampire by J. Christoph, The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, Howling Dark by Christopher Rocchio. Let's check these books. Blood Reunion by J.C.M. Byrne, and finally the brand new release, The Trials of Empire by Richard Swan. So I'm also going to be fulfilling my 2024 goals, because The Trials of Empire is a new release, and I wanted to try and read at least one new release a month. And the Blood Reunion is a self-published book, and I also wanted to read one self-published book a month. So, and of course, by having 3 sci-fi books in the month, I'll be fulfilling my other goal of reading more sci-fi. Now, I'm really excited about being able to keep up with these goals. This set of books looks really cool. If you would like to read those books along with me, I will be posting all of the reviews to the channel. So if you're interested in any of those books, there will be a review. In some of the cases, I'll be able to line up a full spoiler discussion of those books. I might try and see if I can get one of the class of 2023 booktubers who picked Golden Sun as their favourite book of the year to see if they'd like to have that kind of pre-recorded full spoiler discussion with me about it. But we'll see. So if you'd be interested in full spoiler discussions for any of these books, please do say so in the comments below. If you've read any of these books and you tell me how I should prioritise this list, drop down into the comments as well. And please do subscribe to see all of these books be reviewed. And on top of that, why don't you give this video a like to let me know that you liked it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will speak to you tomorrow.